Aaron was a young engineer who lived on a human colony at the edge of known space. The colony was small, built on dry land where sandstorms often rose without warning. Most people worked in the mines, pulling minerals from the ground and sending them to the larger human worlds. Aaron, however, worked with machines. From morning until late evening, he repaired broken mining rigs, adjusted old power cells, and sometimes fixed ships that traders brought to the colony. He was known as someone who never turned away from work, no matter how small. His workshop was filled with wires, tools, and scraps of metal, yet he always found a way to make things work again. Aaron had no family on the colony. His parents had passed away when he was young, and he had built a life on his own. Machines never betrayed him, and work kept him busy. He was not rich, but he was content. One hot afternoon, Aaron was called to travel far from the colony. A communication beacon placed deep in the desert had gone silent. Without the beacon, ships would lose their way while approaching the colony. Aaron packed his tools and supplies into his rover and began the long journey. The land was quiet except for the wind that whistled over the rocks. The sun burned overhead, making the horizon shimmer. After hours of travel, Aaron saw something strange. Smoke rose in the distance, dark against the pale sky. At first, he thought it might be another machine fire, but as he drove closer, he realized it was something far more unusual. A ship had crashed into the desert. It was unlike any human design he had ever seen. The hull shone with a faint silver color, and the curves of the ship looked more like art than technology. Aaron stopped his rover and climbed out. The air was filled with heat, but curiosity pushed him forward. The ship's surface was scorched, and one of its engines had torn apart. Panels were broken, and faint sparks leapt from the wiring. Aaron heard a sound from inside, a low groan. Without hesitation, he stepped through the broken entrance. Inside the ship, the air was cooler. Strange lights glowed along the walls, though many were flickering. The interior was filled with symbols that Aaron could not understand. Moving carefully, he followed the sound until he reached the main cabin. There, on the floor, lay a figure. It was a woman, though not human. She was taller than Aaron and her skin had a soft silver tone that caught the dim light. Her eyes, half open, glowed faintly like stars in the night sky. She wore clothing made of fine material that shimmered even though it was torn in places. Blood, darker than human blood, stained one side of her arm. For a moment Aaron froze. He had read of aliens in the colony records, but to meet one here, alone in the desert, felt unreal. Still, she was wounded, and his first thought was not of fear but of helping her. "You are hurt," Aaron said gently, kneeling beside her. She turned her head slowly and looked at him with tired eyes. Her voice was soft and musical, yet weak. "My ship, attacked," she whispered. Aaron checked her wound. It was not too deep, but she had lost strength. He took out a small medical kit he always carried and began to clean the wound. She winced slightly but did not resist. He wrapped her arm with clean cloth and gave her water from his canteen. She drank slowly, her eyes never leaving his face. "Thank you," she said at last, her voice steadier. Aaron nodded. "You are welcome. My name is Aaron. I am an engineer from the colony nearby." The alien woman looked at him for a long time before speaking again. "Myra," she said simply, as if giving him her name. Aaron offered a small smile. "Myra, your ship is badly damaged. I can try to repair it, but it may take time." She gave a faint nod, closing her eyes for a moment as if the effort of speaking had drained her. Aaron stood and looked around the cabin. The technology was far beyond anything he had worked on before, yet he could see the damage clearly. Burned circuits, shattered panels, and broken conduits filled the ship. He felt both fear and excitement. This was a chance to work on something greater than he had ever imagined, but also a responsibility to keep her safe. He returned to Myra and said firmly, "Do not worry. I will help you. But first, you need rest." She looked at him again, studying his face as if trying to understand why he offered help so quickly. Then, slowly, she allowed herself to lie back against the cabin wall. Aaron carried some of his supplies inside and began working. He patched the worst leaks, secured broken panels, and cleared the sparks. Hours passed as the sun lowered outside, casting long shadows across the desert. Aaron worked with steady hands, sweat running down his face, but he did not stop. When he finally paused, he saw Myra watching him. Her glowing eyes held a quiet expression, one he could not yet read. He only knew she was alive, and he had kept his word to help. Aaron did not know who she truly was, nor the danger that would soon follow. For him, she was simply someone in need, and that was enough. The desert night was colder than Aaron expected. The heat of the day had vanished, replaced by a sharp wind that carried sand across the barren land. Inside the damaged ship, the air remained still, but the broken panels and sparks reminded Aaron how fragile Myra's situation was. He knew the ship could not fly in this condition, and she was too weak to leave on her own. Aaron sat near the dim control panel, studying the damage. He had repaired many machines before, but this was unlike anything he had ever touched. The design was elegant and advanced, almost alive in the way the parts connected. Still, he could see what was broken and what needed fixing. Machines, no matter how advanced, always followed rules. Myra opened her eyes slowly. She looked stronger than before, though her face still showed tiredness. "You work without fear," she said softly. Aaron glanced at her and gave a small smile. "Fear will not help us. I fix machines. That is what I know how to do. If I can repair this ship, we both will be safe." She studied him with a curious expression. "You help a stranger with no promise of reward. Most would ask for payment before giving aid." Aaron shook his head. "You were hurt. That was enough reason. On my colony, we survive by helping one another. If someone falls, another lends a hand. It is not about reward. It is about what is right." Myra did not reply immediately. She closed her eyes again, as if thinking deeply. Aaron did not push further. He turned back to the ship and began working with his tools. He first secured the power conduits, which sparked dangerously every few minutes. Using spare wiring from his rover, he replaced the burnt sections. Then he adjusted the cooling system with a makeshift patch. It was far from perfect, but at least it kept the ship from overheating. The real challenge was the engine. One side was completely destroyed, beyond what Aaron could repair in the desert. But the other side still held hope. He opened the damaged panel and stared at the strange glowing coils inside. They pulsed faintly, as though the ship had a heart that refused to stop beating. Aaron worked through the night, his hands steady even when the wind outside howled. He used every bit of knowledge he had, along with pieces of equipment he carried. Slowly, the ship began to look less broken. The lights glowed brighter, and the cabin grew warmer. When the sun finally rose, Myra sat up, her strength returning little by little. She watched him silently for a while before speaking. "You are skilled. This vessel was built by my people with care, and yet you understand its wounds." Aaron wiped sweat from his brow. "Machines always tell a story. If you listen closely, they show you what they need. Your ship is different, but it still wants to fly again." Her lips curved into a faint smile. "Among my people, engineers are honored, but also feared. They shape the path of entire worlds. You are not feared here. You are alone in the desert, working as if this ship belonged to you." Aaron shrugged lightly. "I am just doing what I can. If I do nothing, you will not survive, and your ship will vanish into the sand. I do not want that to happen." The day passed with more repairs. Aaron took short breaks, drinking water and sharing some food with Myra. She accepted it with quiet gratitude. Though she spoke little, each word she gave carried weight. Aaron felt a strange respect building between them, a silent understanding that went beyond language. By evening, the ship's systems were stable enough for her to move around. Myra rose carefully and walked to the control panel. Her tall figure stood beside Aaron as she placed her hand on the glowing surface. Symbols lit up, and the ship hummed softly. "It lives again," she said with a tone of relief. Aaron nodded. "Not fully, but it can hold until we do more work. You should still rest. The raiders who attacked you may return, and we must be ready." Myra turned to him, her glowing eyes sharp. "You speak of danger, yet you do not ask who I am or why I was attacked. Do you not wish to know?" Aaron looked back at her calmly. "If you want me to know, you will tell me. If not, it changes nothing. You needed help. That is enough for me." For the first time, Myra seemed truly surprised. She stared at him for a long moment, then gave a slow nod. "You are unlike most I have met." That night, they sat quietly inside the repaired cabin. The wind outside pressed against the ship, but the walls now held firm. Aaron leaned against his pack, eyes half closed from exhaustion. Myra remained near the control panel, her gaze thoughtful. She had not told him the truth of who she was, nor the power she held in the galaxy. To her, it felt almost unreal that a human from a small colony would help her with no question, no demand. Most beings she met measured value in wealth or power. Aaron measured it in trust and duty. As Aaron drifted into sleep, Myra whispered softly, though he could not hear, "Perhaps your kind is stronger than we believed." The desert night grew quiet. The ship, though wounded, now stood as a shelter, and within it 2 lives were tied by simple acts of kindness. Aaron did not know the journey he had begun, nor the storm that would follow. But he had made a promise to help, and that promise was stronger than fear or doubt. The following morning was calm. The desert stretched endlessly under the bright sun, and the repaired ship hummed softly, as if it were slowly waking from a long sleep. Aaron stood outside near his rover, checking the tools he had left in the sand. He felt a quiet pride that Myra's ship no longer looked like a ruin. It was still far from ready for flight, but the worst damage had been mended. Inside the cabin, Myra was stronger now. She moved with care, but her wounds no longer slowed her as much as before. Her glowing eyes watched Aaron when he entered again with water and a small ration of food. "You should rest more," he told her. "Your body needs time." Myra accepted the water, her voice steady. "I have rested enough. What matters now is leaving this desert. My enemies will not give up easily." Aaron raised an eyebrow. "Enemies?" Myra's tone hardened. "Raiders. They roam the outer regions, stealing ships and taking whatever they can. They struck me while I was traveling alone. I escaped them, but they will come again." Aaron nodded slowly. He had faced trouble before in the colony, though nothing on this scale. Still, he knew raiders well enough to believe her words. Such people rarely let go of a target. The day passed quietly until the late afternoon, when the sky above shifted. Aaron noticed it first, a faint shadow passing across the sun. He looked up and felt his chest tighten. Shapes moved in the sky, dark ships descending through the thin clouds. "They are here," Myra said firmly, her voice calm but filled with warning. Aaron rushed back inside the ship. "How many?" Myra closed her eyes for a moment, listening to the faint signals from the sky. 3 raider vessels. Not large, but enough to finish what they began. Aaron thought quickly. The ship could not fly yet, and his rover was no match for armed raiders. If they landed, they would find them both. His mind turned to the tools he had, the desert itself, and the mining equipment stored in his rover. He had no warship, but he could still fight with clever hands. They will expect fear, Aaron said. But fear will not save us. We will give them a fight they do not expect. Myra tilted her head slightly, watching him as if trying to read his thoughts. You would stand against them? For me? Aaron met her glowing eyes. I gave you my word that I would help. That does not end because the danger grows stronger. She said nothing more, but her gaze softened. The first raider ship landed not far from the crash site. Sand lifted into the air as the engines roared. Figures stepped out, armed and confident. Aaron could see them through the broken view of the cabin. They wore dark armor and carried weapons that glimmered under the sunlight. Aaron moved quickly. He ran to his rover and pulled out the mining laser he had brought for cutting stone. It was not a true weapon, but with adjustments, it could serve. He mounted it onto a small stand and aimed it at the path where the raiders would advance. Myra stood behind him, her hand resting against the wall of her ship. You prepare like a soldier, she remarked. I am no soldier, Aaron replied, adjusting the power cables. I am an engineer. But machines can serve many purposes. As the raiders drew closer, Aaron activated the laser. A bright beam cut across the sand, striking near their feet. The sudden blast forced them to scatter, shouting in surprise. They had expected a weak target, not resistance. Taking advantage of their confusion, Aaron triggered a trap he had set earlier. Using spare power cells, he had wired a section of sand to release a surge of energy. When two raiders stepped onto it, the burst of force knocked them backward. Their weapons flew from their hands. The leader of the raiders growled and raised his arm, signaling the others to spread out. They fired shots at the cabin, bolts of energy striking the sand around Aaron. He ducked behind the rover, heart pounding but mind clear. Each move had to count. Myra stepped forward, her silver skin glowing faintly in the sunlight. She raised a small device from her belt, one Aaron had not noticed before. With a press, a shield of light formed around her. The raiders' shots deflected harmlessly. You fight well with what you have, she said to Aaron, her voice carrying calm strength. Now let me join the defense. Together, they pushed back the raiders. Aaron's trap slowed their advance, while Myra's shield and quick strikes forced them to retreat toward their ship. The leader snarled in frustration, glaring at the human who dared to resist. We will return, the raider shouted as he signaled for retreat. The engines of their ship roared again, lifting them into the sky. The desert grew quiet once more, though the marks of battle scarred the sand. Aaron lowered his tools, breathing heavily. His arms trembled from the effort, but his spirit burned with determination. Myra looked at him with something close to admiration. You faced them without hesitation. You stood against greater force and did not bend. Aaron gave a small nod, wiping the sweat from his brow. They will return, and next time they may come with more ships. We must be ready. Myra's eyes shone brighter. You are not like the others of your kind I have heard of. You act with courage, not greed. Perhaps I was not wrong to find myself here. Aaron met her gaze steadily. You were not wrong. We will survive this together. The sun sank low, painting the desert with red light. The raiders had been pushed back, but the true fight was still ahead. Aaron knew danger would return, yet he felt no regret. His promise to help Myra now carried the weight of survival, and he would not abandon it. The desert lay silent after the raiders had gone. Their ships had vanished into the sky, but their presence still hung heavy in the air. Aaron stood near the rover, tightening the power cables of the mining laser he had used. His body ached from tension, but his mind was already turning to what must be done next. Myra remained near the cabin of her ship. The soft silver light of her skin caught the fading sun. She was calm, yet her glowing eyes revealed thought deeper than her words. She had seen many battles in her life, but the way Aaron fought had stirred something within her. Aaron finished his work and stepped back inside the ship. The cabin lights glowed brighter now, steady and alive. Myra was seated near the control panel, her tall frame straight, her hands folded. She turned as he entered. "They will come again," Aaron said firmly. "This time they tested us. Next time they will bring more ships. We cannot wait here forever." Myra nodded. "You speak truth. But there is more you must understand before we plan further." Aaron raised an eyebrow. "More?" She held his gaze for a long moment, then rose to her feet. Her presence filled the cabin. "You asked nothing of me when I fell before you. You treated me as if I were no different from one of your own people. But I can no longer remain silent. You deserve to know who I truly am." Aaron leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "If you wish to tell me, then tell me. It will not change why I helped you." Myra's voice grew firm, carrying weight like stone. "I am not a simple traveler. I am Queen Myra of the Lutheri Empire. My throne lies at the heart of 10,000 worlds. My name is known in every trade route and court across the galaxy. Riches beyond measure belong to me, yet they also make me a target. The raiders came for me not because of my ship, but because capturing me could make them masters of entire systems." Her words filled the cabin like thunder. Aaron blinked once, trying to process them. A queen. The ruler of an empire. The richest being in the galaxy. He looked at her again, but instead of bowing or stepping back, he gave a small shrug. "You are still the same person I found wounded on the floor," Aaron said calmly. "That is what mattered yesterday, and it is what matters now. Queen or not, you needed help." Myra stared at him, surprise flashing across her glowing eyes. She had revealed her identity to many before, and every time she had been met with fear, greed, or desperate attempts to win her favor. But Aaron stood steady, unchanged, as if her crown meant nothing to him. "You do not ask for gold? For land? For power?" she asked quietly. Aaron shook his head. "What would I do with gold in the desert? What would I do with power when all I need is a workshop and tools? I helped because it was the right thing to do. If I must face raiders again for that choice, then so be it." For a long time, Myra said nothing. She simply studied him, her gaze heavy with thought. At last, she sat again, her voice softer. "Perhaps your people are different from the stories told among the stars. Perhaps you measure worth not in treasure, but in honor." Aaron gave a faint smile. "Perhaps." The night grew colder. Aaron lit a small heater inside the ship, and they shared food once more. Myra ate little, but her silence was no longer distant. It carried respect. When the meal ended, Myra spoke again. "My empire stretches across the galaxy, yet it is filled with rivals. Some desire my throne, others my wealth. Even allies can become enemies when they see opportunity. That is why I traveled alone, hidden, seeking to settle matters quietly. But the raiders discovered me. Now my enemies will know I am vulnerable." Aaron listened carefully. "Then the danger is greater than just those raiders?" "Yes," she answered. "Greater by far. But with you, I have found something rare. A human who helps without demand, who fights without fear. In my world, such loyalty is priceless." Aaron looked down at his worn gloves. "I am not sure about loyalty. I only know what feels right. You were in need, and I was there. That is all." Her lips curved into a faint smile. "That is what makes it true loyalty." They fell into silence once more. Outside, the desert stretched under a field of stars. Inside, the cabin carried warmth not only from the repaired systems, but from the trust slowly building between them. Aaron leaned back, closing his eyes for a moment of rest. Myra remained awake, watching him. In her thoughts, She considered how easily she could have been captured or killed had he walked away. Instead, a simple engineer from a forgotten colony had stood against raiders for her sake, never knowing she ruled worlds. For the first time in many years, Myra felt something stronger than wealth or crown. She felt trust in someone who had nothing to gain. Aaron opened his eyes again and caught her gaze. Tomorrow we keep working. Your ship must fly again. That is the only way to escape this desert before more danger comes. Myra nodded, her voice steady. Yes. Tomorrow we prepare not only to fly, but to fight. For now, rest. You have earned it. As Aaron drifted into sleep, Myra looked toward the stars beyond the broken hull. The galaxy believed her riches made her untouchable, but in truth, she had never felt more vulnerable. And yet, beside this human, she felt a strength she had not known before. The revelation had been spoken. Now their path would only grow more dangerous, but also more bound by trust. The sun rose over the desert with a soft golden glow, casting long shadows across the sand. Aaron moved quickly, checking every system in Myra's ship. The repairs from the previous days had held, but the engines were not fully stable. He adjusted power lines, replaced a few worn connectors, and made sure the cooling system would withstand the heat of the desert day. Myra watched closely, her glowing eyes reflecting determination. You work with skill I have rarely seen, she said. Your hands know machines like they know life itself. Aaron smiled faintly. Machines speak if you listen. I only follow what they tell me. Myra studied him for a moment, then nodded. Soon, we will need to listen to more than machines. The raiders will return. Aaron agreed silently. He knew the danger had not passed. The raiders were likely regrouping and calling allies from nearby systems. If they returned in greater numbers, they could overwhelm him and Myra. He glanced at her and spoke firmly. We must plan an escape. Your ship is ready to move, but I have a few ideas to give us advantage. Speed and surprise may keep us alive. Myra tilted her head. I trust your judgment. Aaron went to the rover and pulled out spare power cells and some mining explosives. Carefully, he placed them around the desert area near the ship, connecting wires to the rover's control panel. The traps would slow attackers if they came close. He also rigged a simple alarm system, small sensors that would signal if any movement approached. By mid-afternoon, the heat had softened, and the desert lay quiet. Aaron climbed into the ship to check the systems, while Myra tested the controls. She had not piloted in some time, but her knowledge of ships was vast. The engines hummed with increasing power, the lights glowed steadily, and the life support systems functioned without warning. Suddenly, the radar beeped. A small fleet of ships appeared on the horizon. Aaron's heart raced. He had anticipated this. They are back, he said. 3 raider ships, possibly more. We must move quickly. Myra rose, placing her hand on the control panel. I will shield us, but you guide the escape. Your plan saved me once. Now I need your mind more than ever. Aaron nodded. He activated the traps around the ship and adjusted the rover's power cells. Then he gave Myra a simple instruction. When I give the signal, start engine slowly. Do not rise high yet. We will use the terrain for cover. Wait for my mark. Myra followed his direction with precision. The raiders approached, confident. Their ships had firepower, but Aaron knew their weakness. They expected an easy capture, not clever tricks. When the raiders were near, Aaron triggered the first trap. A burst of energy shot into the sand, throwing one raider ship off balance. Sparks flew as its engines faltered. The second trap released a cloud of dust and sand, hiding Myra's ship from view. The raiders slowed, unsure of the desert's danger. Now, Aaron shouted. Myra pressed the control panel, and the engines roared to life. The ship lifted smoothly from the sand, climbing low to the ground, using the terrain as cover. Aaron guided her through the desert, pointing out safe paths between rocks and sand dunes. The raiders tried to follow, but Aaron's traps continued to slow them. Explosions and bursts of energy from the ground forced them to change course. Myra's ship, though damaged before, now moved with surprising speed, its engines glowing like silver fire. "You think like a human," Myra said, her voice carrying awe. "Your strategy saved us." "I only think what is necessary," Aaron replied. "If we do not act, they will catch us. Acting is all we can do." The desert passed in a tense blur. Sand lifted in clouds around them as the raiders tried to aim weapons, but they could not strike accurately. Aaron guided Myra toward a narrow canyon, where the high walls would hide them from detection. As they entered, the raiders fired once more, but their shots hit rocks and dissipated. Inside the canyon, Aaron gave the final instruction. "Push the engines fully. We can climb above the canyon walls and lose them for good." Myra complied. The ship surged upward, breaking through the canyon into the clear sky. The raiders struggled to follow through the narrow opening. By the time Myra leveled the ship in open air, the raiders were left behind, blocked by the rocks and traps. For a moment, silence returned. Aaron and Myra looked at each other, hearts still racing from the escape. Myra's glowing eyes were filled with admiration. "You have done what few beings could. You saved me again, not with power, but with your mind and courage." Aaron gave a small shrug. "I only did what I could. You are alive, and the ship flies. That is enough for me." Myra studied him closely. "You understand something rare about humans. You fight not for wealth, not for reward, but for what is right. That is why I trust you." Aaron nodded. "Then we must continue. They may come again, but now we have a chance to reach safety. Tomorrow, we make plans for the next step." The ship glided through the sky, leaving the desert far below. The sun set in brilliant colors of red and gold. Aaron looked at Myra, realizing that their partnership had grown beyond mere necessity. They had faced danger together and survived. In the distance, the first stars of the night appeared. The raiders had been defeated for now, but the real journey had only begun. Myra, the richest being in the galaxy, and Aaron, a simple human engineer, now shared a bond stronger than most empires could hope to hold. The ship flew toward freedom, carrying with it the promise of adventure, danger, and trust that neither could ignore. The stars stretched endlessly above the ship as it glided through space. The desert and the raiders were far behind, but Aaron and Myra knew the danger had not ended. Myra's enemies were many, spread across systems, and their reach could extend anywhere. Still, inside the repaired ship, a sense of calm settled. Aaron had done what few could. He had kept Myra alive, and together they had escaped. Myra moved through the cabin, her glowing eyes soft but alert. She touched the controls lightly, checking systems, then looked at Aaron. "You have saved more than just my life," she said quietly. "You have saved hope. That is rare, even among the greatest of allies." Aaron shook his head. "I only helped because it was the right thing. I did not expect reward, nor recognition. That is not why I act." Myra studied him. "Most beings I meet would demand reward, or seek to take advantage. They would calculate what they could gain before offering aid. But you are different. You see value in action, not in wealth or power." Aaron smiled faintly. "That is how humans survive. We measure people by what they do, not what they possess." Myra walked closer, standing near him. "I wish to offer you something, Aaron. It may be more than any human could imagine. It is the measure of my empire, of my wealth, and of my power. Anything you desire, I will give." Aaron blinked, feeling the weight of her words. He had not expected this. He had faced raiders and danger, but he had never imagined that the richest being in the galaxy would offer him anything at all. He looked around the cabin, filled with advanced machines and glowing consoles. Then he looked at Myra. "Anything?" he asked quietly. "Yes," she said. "Gold, ships, land, titles, anything you could wish for. All of it is yours, simply because you helped me without asking for reward. You have proven your worth not by desire, but by courage and integrity." Aaron thought for a moment, his mind turning over what she offered. He had grown up with little, but he had never felt the need for riches or status. Tools, work, and his small life on the colony had been enough. He did not seek more. "I do not need gold or titles," he said finally. "I have my workshop, my tools, and my people. That is enough for me. I do not desire more than what I have." Myra's glowing eyes widened in surprise. Few beings had ever refused her offer, and none had done so without hesitation. "You are unlike anyone I have known," she said softly. "Most would take it all and ask for more." Aaron shook his head. "I am not like most. I only know what is right. You were in need, and I helped. That is all I need to know." Myra looked at him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Then you will have something greater than gold or power. You will have my trust and respect. And in a galaxy where few can be trusted, that is priceless." Aaron gave a small smile. "That is more than I expected." Myra moved closer, placing her hand briefly on his shoulder. "You have shown me that humans can be brave, honest, and loyal. You value people over wealth, and action over words. That is a lesson few beings understand." Aaron felt a warmth in his chest, not from the ship's systems, but from her words. For all her wealth and power, Myra had not expected him to act without selfish thought. She had seen him as a simple human, yet he had proven more than many rulers or soldiers. "Tomorrow," Aaron said, "we continue repairs. Your ship must be fully ready before we can leave the sector. The raiders will return, and others may come. We must be prepared." Myra nodded. "Yes. But tonight, rest. You have earned it. And remember, what you have done here will not be forgotten." Aaron leaned back against a pack, closing his eyes for a brief moment. Myra stayed near the control panel, her thoughts focused on him. In the galaxy of countless worlds, she had ruled with fear and wealth, but she had never encountered a human like Aaron. He had no fear, no greed, only courage and loyalty. That was a gift greater than all her treasure. The night passed slowly, filled with quiet work as Aaron checked systems and Myra observed. They spoke little, but their shared understanding grew. The offer of wealth and power remained unclaimed, yet the bond between them had strengthened. Trust, respect, and courage had created something neither could ignore. When the first light of a distant sun appeared, Myra finally spoke. "You do not seek reward, but know this, I will not forget you. When the galaxy learns what humans can do, your actions here will be a lesson to all who hear it." Aaron opened his eyes and gave a faint smile. "Then we have work to do. The raiders will not wait, and neither should we. Let us prepare." Myra nodded, determination filling her posture. Together, they returned to the ship's systems, ready to face whatever challenges awaited. Aaron had refused her offer, but he had gained something far greater, the respect of a queen, the bond of trust, and a role in a story that would echo across the galaxy. And for Myra, the richest being in the galaxy, she had found in a human engineer a lesson more valuable than all her treasure, that courage and loyalty could shine brighter than gold, and that the heart of a human could defy even the greatest of odds. The ship soared through space, leaving the desert far behind. The stars stretched endlessly around Aaron and Myra, silent witnesses to the journey they had shared. The raiders had been defeated, at least for now, and the galaxy felt vast and open. Yet neither of them could forget the danger that had brought them together. The bond between human and queen had grown stronger with every challenge, every moment of trust. Aaron moved through the cabin, checking systems once more. He adjusted power lines and monitored the engines. Myra watched him quietly, her silver skin glowing softly in the dim light. She had learned more in the past days than in decades of ruling her empire. A simple human, armed only with courage and cleverness, had outwitted raiders and protected her life without expectation of reward. "You work tirelessly," Myra said softly. "Even after all that has happened, you continue without pause." Most would collapse in fear or ask for compensation. Aaron glanced at her, shaking his head. "I do not need wealth or titles. I only need to survive and help when it is right. That is enough for me." Myra studied him, her eyes reflecting both admiration and wonder. "You are a lesson to the galaxy. Humans are often underestimated. They are seen as weak, unprepared, or simple. But you have shown that courage, intelligence, and loyalty are more powerful than gold or fleets of ships." Aaron smiled faintly. "I only acted with what I had. Others could do the same if they chose. It is not special, only necessary." Myra shook her head, a faint smile on her lips. "No, Aaron. What you did is rare. You risked your life for someone you barely knew. You did not act for fame, wealth, or power. You acted because it was right. That is a strength few beings possess." For a long time, silence filled the cabin. The hum of the ship was the only sound. Outside, stars streaked past as they moved faster than any human ship had traveled before. Myra leaned against the control panel, reflecting on the days that had passed. She thought of her empire, her treasures, and her rivals. All of it seemed less important now. A human had taught her that true value was not measured in gold or crowns, but in trust and courage. "You will be remembered," she said finally. "Not just by me, but by those who hear your story. The galaxy will learn that humans act with honor, even when fear and greed surround them. You have proven that your species deserves respect." Aaron nodded slowly. "I only hope my actions inspire others to do what is right. That is the only reward I seek." Myra's eyes glowed brighter, a sign of her deep admiration. "Then you have already received what is greater than any treasure. You have shaped a legacy that will endure. Even when I return to my empire, your courage will remain with me." Aaron looked down at his worn hands, the hands that had repaired ships, faced raiders, and guided them to safety. He had not expected fame or recognition. He had only sought to act rightly. Yet now he realized that even simple actions could create ripples across the stars. Myra touched his shoulder lightly. "I will ensure that your people, your colony, are safe. You risked everything for me. It is time I honor that trust. Though you refused wealth and titles, you will never lack for security or respect among the stars." Aaron gave a small nod. "I do not need much. My people and my life are enough. That is all I wish for." Myra's expression softened, a rare warmth in her queenly composure. "Then you shall have that. And more. Your courage will be known across my empire. Traders, explorers, and rulers will speak of the human who helped the richest queen without asking for reward. Your name will inspire others to act with honor, just as you have." The ship moved through a quiet sector of space. Aaron and Myra worked together, adjusting navigation and checking systems. The partnership between human and queen had become seamless. Trust had replaced caution, and respect had replaced fear. As they approached a nearby human colony, Myra spoke again. "You will return to your life, Aaron, but know this, your actions have changed how the galaxy sees humans. Your courage and integrity will echo through history." Aaron smiled faintly. "Then I am content. I only hope my people continue to act with the same honor I tried to show." Myra placed a small crystal in his hand. "A token of gratitude," she said. It contains resources enough to protect your colony for generations. Yet it is more than this. It is proof that courage and loyalty are remembered and valued, even in the greatest empires. Aaron accepted it humbly. Thank you. I will use it wisely. The ship descended toward the colony, the familiar terrain welcoming him back. Myra's presence was no longer a distant mystery but a symbol of what humans could inspire in the galaxy. Her wealth and power were unmatched, yet she had been moved most by something simple: honesty and courage. As the ship landed, Myra turned to Aaron. Farewell for now. The galaxy is vast, and our paths may cross again. But know that your legacy will endure in ways you cannot yet imagine. Aaron watched her ship lift again, disappearing into the stars. He returned to his workshop, carrying not gold, but the knowledge that even one human could make a difference across the galaxy. The story of courage, honor, and loyalty would be told among humans and aliens alike. The desert, the raiders, and the danger were behind him. What remained was a legacy, forged by simple acts of bravery, and a bond that would forever remind the galaxy that humans were a species to be respected. And so, the tale of Aaron, the human engineer who helped the richest queen in the galaxy without asking for reward, became legend. It spread from colony to colony, inspiring those who heard it to act with courage, loyalty, and honor, proving that humanity could shine brighter than any treasure.